So how you doing? Busy. Busy? Busy is how you are doing. Okay, so let's just clarify here. When we ask how are you or how are you doing, we mean how are you feeling, right? Now, of course, yeah. Disregard the fact that often that question is asked as like a quick courtesy or a conversation starter that we don't necessarily want the full answer to. And let's just go back to the question itself. We are asking, how are you feeling? Are you well? And then the answer comes back, busy? The answer of busy sounds kind of nutty because busy is an objective fact. Either your schedule is full or it isn't. I mean, yeah, it could be like a spectrum. You could be more busy or less busy, but you could measure from the outside the degree to which you are busy, right? So why is an answer to your question about how you are feeling, how you're doing, with an adjective that describes how much stuff you have in your calendar? Does it actually mean that you're feeling busy? You're experiencing life as busy? So maybe it's not so objective after all. Maybe we have an experience of busyness that may or may not be pleasant. You know, it could be pleasant for you if you enjoy having lots to do, especially if it's stuff that you like doing, that feeds you, that makes you feel, like connected and gives your life meaning. But of course, maybe this experience of busyness is unpleasant. That's often what we mean. Maybe it's really stressing you out. You're overwhelmed. Life is too much. Of course, there's the classic combo where you don't love being so busy, but you're enjoying the prestige of being busy. You're an important person and that makes you feel good that people are like demanding your time. So if it's possible that the busy answer is actually a response about your subjective experience, is it possible that the way you think about that experience could impact your sense of it, your sense of busyness? So could you influence your subjective experience by your point of view? Maybe there are some ways to let go of some of that unpleasant sense of busy by shifting our thinking. Let's dive in and see. Welcome back to the channel, my productivity pals. So let's talk busy in today's video. Over the course of my time nerding out in the world of productivity, gobbling up productivity books, watching lots of content, observing my own experience, and helping out others, I've actually come across some ways of thinking about this objective experience of busyness that may change the game for you, so I wanted to share them. So let's try on these 3 mindset shifts for size today and see if they have an impact on your experience of being busy. First off, David Allen. Yeah, I know, him again. When it comes to dealing with busy, he gets philosophical about it. He says, look, if you think about it, the amount of stuff you could be doing, it's actually infinite. We are all infinitely busy. Our to-do lists are actually endless because the world is so big. You could just keep on discovering things to add on and on. So he says, you might as well have fun. Be playful. He calls it being positively creative. You can't do it all, so just do and be and play. I like this perspective because it sits kind of adjacent to the point of view that our world is an abundant place, that we are busy because we've been given so much opportunity. Now, of course, I'm not saying this to dismiss the hardship and struggle that many people experience, and probably all of us at one point or another. But what if we are able to step back and be grateful for all of the positive opportunities we do have, and maybe bring a sense of creativity and playfulness when selecting which opportunities to take whenever we can? We can let go of trying to fit it all in because it literally isn't possible. All is very huge, and it's just not even a thing. So we pick what tugs at us, what we have energy for, what supports our larger vision, being playful and creative along the way. Next up, diversification. 18 Minutes author Peter Bregman says, we can diversify. Diversification, at first blush, sounds like more to do, but that's not the point. He encourages you to ask yourself, who am I if you take away my work? See, Bregman's goal here isn't to directly eliminate the sense of busyness, but he suggests that diversification of your identities can help with that work, go, vibe that we often talk about when we say we're busy. The idea is that if you lose one thing, like your job, you'll have other identities to fall back on. You won't be so bereft, so at sea. And I wonder, could that also mean that you don't need to cling to working at that job so very much. And maybe you get used to that and you say, maybe I want to deliberately lose some things, parts of jobs, extra commitments. If your identity were diversified, perhaps you could let some stuff go out of your schedule without losing your sense of self. If your sense of self encompasses more than just that one thing you are letting go of, maybe you relieve yourself of the sense that you have to do that one thing all the time, thereby relieving your sense of busyness and that push that makes you reply, ugh, busy, when someone asks you how you are. The idea here is that we can have identities other than those of producer, achiever, breadwinner, responsible party. We can shift away from doer into beer. You can also be a friend, a kind person, a reader, an athlete, just a human. Turns out you can even just be you, existing. That might be enough. In his article, which I will link in the description box below, Buddhist teacher Phillip Moffett shares some wisdom that actually connects these first two mind shift concepts. In this article, he shares a story about one of his students who realized that it was time for her to shed the identity of the reliable producer that everyone could trust to get things done. Not that she wanted to stop producing, but that she was ready to be done clinging to that producer identity as her whole persona and was using her mindfulness practice to investigate how that might go. Interesting stuff in this article. And he does relate that through her subsequent meditation practice after she figured out she wanted to let this go, that she, quote, experienced the direct insight that her desires and concerns were unceasing and unappeasable. Therefore, obsessively responding to one after another would not bring lasting happiness. Aha! I think that David Allen's recognition that the world of possible to-do items is infinite goes hand in hand with Phillip Moffett's discussion that the desires that cause us to cling to identity are also infinite. And they both suggest that just because those opportunities and desires unceasingly arise doesn't mean we have to grab them. And in fact, grabbing them hard might be the cause of suffering, that sense of unpleasant busyness. Moffett goes on to convey, quote, the student realized that the only way she would ever experience freedom and peace of mind, which I think might be another way of saying freedom from the oppression of that feeling constantly like you're busy, 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 was to stop identifying with her desires as either me or mine. She was able to observe that desires and fears are ever-changing mind states that just arise. This was the source of new sparkle in her eyes. She was more at ease with life's difficulties and no longer clinging to each outcome so intensely. Unquote. Shedding that strong bond to identity by realizing that the desires to do stuff and be seen as someone who does stuff will always be there. They just arise. There's no need to go out and cling to those desires just because they're there. Just like opportunities to add things to our to-do list will always be there, just like David Allen says. I love this. This is juicy stuff. I wonder how it hits you. Just let us know in the comments below. Okay, so we are at our third mindset shift, remembering the stakes. Is this one from some fancy productivity author? Nope. This is one from little old me. About 9 months ago, I was taking a walk on a dark evening and I was struck by a car. Don't worry, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It was pretty small as those things go, but I was injured and it took me some time to recover. I basically spent the entire month after the accident napping. I had grand plans for that month and I couldn't really do any of them. A to-do list that looked so busy and full suddenly got rearranged. I remember clearly the day that I looked at my to-do list to see what I could manage, and it took me almost no thought to identify the most important stuff that I could handle with the energy that I had, and I just let the rest go until later. So then I wonder, was I really that busy? If I could suddenly go from having a full to-do list to very nearly having my only task be resting? I had perceived myself to be quite busy, but it turned out that I wasn't really that busy after all. I'm sure you've heard this advice that, like when it comes to shopping, consuming, buying stuff, that you're advised to identify your needs versus wants. Like to save money, to be a smart shopper, we should focus on our needs first and not always indulge our wants. That when we mix up our wants with our needs, we may overspend and get ourselves in a bit of, financial trouble. So looking at being busy through the lens of my experience, or really through the eyes of anyone who's encountered a personal crisis, big or small, the difference between needs and wants make themselves very clear. In this moment of abrupt change, I was able to pare back to just the needs pretty quickly. So I wonder, could you take the time to do that even outside of a crisis? Maybe you can lighten up the pressure on the wants, on those tasks, projects, activities that actually aren't that crucial. And maybe you'll feel a little less pressure, a little less inclined to answer busy when someone asks how you are. Okay, so those are our 3 possible mindset shifts when it comes to thinking about busy in your life. Be positively creative as you flow through life. Diversify your identity and let other parts of you besides the producer achiever influence your experience. And third, remember the stakes. Noticing that when something that makes you feel busy is really a need or a want. Now, too busy for too long can lead to overwhelm. And if you're feeling too busy, you might be worrying about burnout. I have a video where I share my top 5 productivity mistakes that led me to burnout. And that video should be hovering around here as I talk. So go ahead and check that out. You can chill out in front of YouTube, learn from my hard-won lessons, and avoid that burnout. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.